Welcome to a special edition of the Minnesota Vikings Chat podcast, pre-draft podcast. We're trying to cram in as many positions as possible before the draft on April 25. The Vikings have 11 picks this year, 2 in the first round, many holes to fill, among them defensive tackle, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And so the Vikings on depth, the depth chart for the Vikings defensive tackle is rather thin. We've got Kevin Williams, who is our best defensive tackle on the roster right now, but he's aging and is not what he was in his prime, clearly. And so he was recently renegotiated his contract to a one-year deal, so this is likely his last year on the Vikings roster. Behind him, at his position, we have Christian Ballard, who really hasn't impressed thus far as a Viking. And at nose tackle, there's LaTroy Guion, who has been okay, I guess. Fred Evans, I think, has outplayed Guion. And then we got Chase Baker behind them, but all of them, as we said, are not as good as an aging Kevin Williams. So we need to get some young blood.
Though he hasn't fallen apart. I'm so tired of reading about Kevin Williams and how he's been a disaster, and everything you read like 3 times in the article says Kevin Williams has fallen off the table and he's a disaster. And
not a disaster.
Very good.
Exactly.
It is a point of concern, and his contract is a concern.
Yeah. But we do need to bolster the position, and we do need his eventual replacement. So that's what we're going to talk about here. We should mention the difference between the two types of defensive tackles that we're looking for. We need depth at both positions. So there's Kevin Williams' spot, which is the 3 technique. And when people talk about the 3 technique, what they're talking about is not necessarily a technique, but a position along the defensive line. And so odd numbers, when they're referring to numbers and techniques, odd numbers are offset from the opposing offensive lineman they're lining up against, and even numbers are when you're lining up head-to-head, helmet-to-helmet against the opposing offensive lineman. So for the 3 technique, what they're referring to is a defensive tackle who is offset to the outside shoulder of the guard. And so that's Kevin Williams' position. For that position, you need explosiveness because it's designed to get the defensive tackle to penetrate the line of scrimmage, to disrupt running plays, and to attack the offense during passing plays as a pass rusher. The other defensive tackle is commonly called a nose tackle. So you've got the under tackle with Kevin Williams' position, and then the nose tackle with the other defensive tackle position. And that position typically is somebody you want, a big guy, 330-pound guy who eats up. Pat Williams, exactly. Perfect example of a defensive tackle. Eats up space, demands double teams because he's so big and powerful. Can disrupt running lanes and cut and account for the cutback runs too. So those are the 2 types of positions we're looking at. And this draft is apparently deep in defensive tackles, but we'll start out with the top 2, which we're not likely to get, but let's talk about them anyway. So first we've got Sharrif.
Actually, before you start, should mention the contract status of the 4 starters on our defensive line, that all 4 are unrestricted free agents at the end of the year, which is a very rare thing. So.
That's right. So it wouldn't be surprising if we take a defensive end as well somewhere in the draft. So Sharrif Floyd is among the top 2 prospects that everybody's got atop their list as far as defensive tackles are concerned. He's from Florida, 6'3", 297 pounds, 31 3/4 inch arm length, 10 1/8 inch hands. I don't know how much that matters with the defensive tackle, but there it is. 4.92 40-yard dash. So as far as running plays down from behind, the 40-yard dash is probably a good indication of him having some quickness. 30-inch vertical jump. Can play all along the line, under tackle, 5 technique and defensive end. Has experience playing 2 gap, which is where you're lining up directly across from your offensive lineman, and you're expected to account for the gap on either side of that lineman. He, from the film that I saw, completely disruptive, consistently commands double teams, seems able to defeat double teams, explodes off the ball, and as I said, has played significant snaps all along the line, so he's got some versatility there. What were your thoughts on Sharrif Floyd?
Really strong. I don't really know what separates him from the other guys. He obviously is the top one. He appears to be the fastest. For my money, having 2 picks in the late first round, I wouldn't be surprised. I have said when we looked at wide receivers and when we looked at other positions that I didn't think we'd trade up. This is the position I think I could potentially see us trading up for if somebody falls out. I kind of looked at Sharrif Floyd and think of some of the other defensive linemen tackles that have been taken in some early in the last few drafts, like top 10 or 15, and I don't think he matches up super well with them. So for my money, I could see a guy like this fall somewhere toward the middle, and then that's where we might try and do something like that. Or same thing with Starr, we'll talk about it in a minute, but he's very worth watching to me. I didn't understand why his stats aren't that good. Maybe that's part of the system, and maybe that's just part of being a nose tackle. He didn't look, top 10 pick kind of closing speed when he grabs people and tackles them. He looks kind of higher than I imagine. Maybe it's just long legs or something. Tackles. He did have a torn ACL when he was in high school, but has been fine ever since. He had some trouble with some kind of fundraiser they did for him in his community. He came from a low-income family, so they sat him for a couple games, and that's, I don't think, is a problem. I have no idea, but it didn't seem like a big deal. My favorite thing about him is on a couple of occasions on the videos we watched, he picked up the quarterback, gave him a hand after he tackled him. So he may be the most classy defensive lineman I've seen since Bud Grant was around. I don't know. That was cool.
That's a good indication of a guy who likes to play the game. If you're doing that, you like playing the game.
And he did have 13 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, too. That's amazing.
Yeah. If we haven't talked about defensive tackle that you like, put your comments leave your comments below, and share the videos, of course, and like them and all that stuff. And we'll look at cornerbacks next. So, Rick, you got any self-promotion you want to do?
Just promote this, help us out, let people know about it. And again, I'll repeat, get in your opinions before the draft.
Exactly.
It doesn't count if you put some guy in after the draft. Oh, you should have talked about
I had, yeah.
Exactly. These things are dated. Look out.
Exactly.
So get on it now.
So let's wrap this for Minnesota Vikings Chat Podcast, MinnesotaVikingsChat.com. Follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Minnesota Vikings Chat, on Twitter at Twitter.com/MNVikingsChat, and use the Vikings Chat hashtag when talking about the Vikings, of course, so we can find you. Until our next podcast before the draft, that's a wrap. Go Vikings.
Go Vikings.